Welcome back, everybody, to today's episode. This is on the Virg podcast, the Truth in Podcast, and today is May 13th. We're doing a special extra edition of our podcast so that we can get to some of our guests that are running for special district elections. We felt like it was important to get their names and bios out there early so they'd have a chance to do that before next week. The election is actually next Tuesday, so if you have a ballot in the mail, then obviously you'd want to get that in pretty darn quick. But with that, I will introduce our guests that are coming up here in just a second. And here we go. So thank you. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I have a couple of guests with me tonight. As you know, we're shooting from a little bit different location, and that's because we wanted to get these folks on our show before the election, which is happening next Tuesday, I believe, is the deadline for the election to get your ballots in. So it's very important. So without further ado, what I want to do is just go ahead and have our guests introduce themselves, if you would, one at a time, and also you, Trent, and then we'll start talking about what you guys are campaigning for. So Cathye, go ahead and go first.
Hi, my name is Cathye Dewhirst Curreri. I do appreciate you having me on your show and for your audience giving me this time. I am currently in position 6, but I am running for position 3. And I'm running for position 3 because it is a 2-year term. And I felt in my situation it was best to commit to the 2 years rather than 4.
Fantastic, thank you, Cathye, and Greg.
Yeah, I'm Gregg Kennerly, and I'm running position 5. I don't know if no one's opposing me, but I'm here to help support the Doge team, we call it, that's helped put everything together. So,
Best best way to win an election is run unopposed. And we also have Trent with us. Trent, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. Again, as always, Trent Drake. I am the executive chair for the Douglas County Republican Central Committee.
Right on. Thanks, guys. So yeah, we've have an election, special districts elections that are coming up here, and there's lots of different positions out there: school board, fire boards, all kinds of different things. Umpqua Public Transit is what these folks are here to talk about as well. I wanted to make sure we got them on soon enough so that everybody has a chance to meet them. This show is open to anybody that wants to come on this show. As far as we're not political or partisan when it comes to elections. Well, in nonpartisan positions. When it comes to Republican elections, we're damn political. We are very partisan. We only want to see Republicans elected, but there's people's opinions on how they feel about their elections and their campaigns. We always are happy to hear them. So if you guys don't mind, I'll just start out. I'm gonna ask you guys a couple of questions I have, but please feel free to go on and talk more about yourselves as well. And I think I'll just start with Cathye, if that's okay.
Sure.
So Cathye, this position obviously is a nonpartisan position. You I assume are running probably more leaning conservative. I know the Doge team, we've talked about that, so I'm sure you're a little more conservative like myself. Tell me what it is why are you running, and what do you hope to accomplish?
Well, I was first elected, or not elected, appointed to the board back in June of 2024. At 3 of the elected board members had stepped down, and so the 3 spots were open, and Natasha Atkinson and John Estelle and I were appointed. And I came on because I saw a real fiscal problem. The agency was getting ready to be shut down, and just there was so much mismanagement, and it was such a bureaucratic nightmare. And then as I got on, I realized that even our whole basically management team, all the people in leadership at UPTD, it was like a dysfunctional family all fighting amongst themselves. And so it was just a mess. But I had a real heart. I've always been a volunteer and a community supporter my whole life. And in LA, have put numerous hours in volunteering. I'm new to this area, so I'm not known for that here. But I moved right before COVID. As soon as they started opening things up, I went to Republican headquarters and signed up for a Constitution class and soon started teaching it. But I have a heart, especially because our transit is addressing the people who are underserved in our community. And I moved up here to help care for my elderly parents. And so I know a number of their friends, and I really have a heart for the elderly and for their, how are they getting around town? Because a lot of them don't have family here, and for the veterans and that. Now, there are other people we serve as well, but that's where my real heart lies. So, but we've done a tremendous turnaround, and I'm so excited about what we've accomplished in such a short time, bringing this district out of the financial quagmire we're in to where we're actually functioning well, and we have no more of the what am I trying to come up? We were not compliant in like almost 50 aspects. And that was for federal and state. We are in complete compliance now. In fact, the head of ODOT contacted our GM to ask him, how the heck did you do this? Because he could not believe that we would get those compliance issues taken care of in such a quick manner. We have a wonderful team and we're doing good work. And so I want to be able to continue doing that. I'm hoping that our public will see that our team is doing a good job and that they'll support us, because we have a vision over and beyond now. We've dealt with some of the nuts and bolts problems, but now we want to make it. I want to make this district the district that everybody looks at as the example to how to make it run effectively and safely and efficiently. I think we have that capability. So that's my dream.
That's awesome. So, Gregg, let me ask you the same question. In full disclosure, I've known Gregg for what, 40 years?
Yeah, at least.
No, longer than
Trent-
that. You're older
Trent
than
even
that.
longer. Yeah, that's it.
Maybe longer, yeah.
Back.
Yeah, we go all the way back to high school together, and also your brother as well. So, I mean, I know politically where you stand for sure. Give us kind of a rundown, kind of like Cathye did, if you would. Just kind of tell us where you're at on this, and how long have you been part of the board?
Well, I got appointed to is back in December. I can't take credit for how they've turned things around. They literally was getting ready to shut down. And you're talking about, I think Cathye, it's 126,000 rides we do a year. So you got 126,000 people that are, that need this service, that it was going to go away because of the way it was managed. So, John and Todd and Cathye and McKay, I came at the tail end of it after they kind of got it, and we've continued to put out the big fires, and now we're in compliance. We got the budget passed and everything. And you know how hard it is when you get behind the 8 ball on something and ODOT's all over it. When I came on, you could cut the air with a knife with ODOT. I mean, it was like, boy, this is not good. What did I get into? And so, we got that turned around, and, basically I think it was Jennifer Moja. I said, look, we're not trying to be real hard asses. We're all business people, and we're trying to get this thing turned around. And here's how we're doing it. So yeah, we're pretty excited. I guess the best way I could relate it to is, Virgil, is like you and I, we've like when I was the on-call deputy for search and rescue. Okay. When we had that gal lost up in the woods, I called you and you went up there and got her, right? Well, I didn't know you and I didn't trust you and worked with you all these years. I would have never sent you up there. And the sad part about it was she'd been dead because we got Snowmageddon that. So that's a prime example of how, we're working. We've got this great team, and it's like, we don't want to, get anybody else, because it's like we're all working together kind of on the same page and got things turned around. And now we're getting to a position where we can actually kind of have some fun. We can actually do some fun things because now the compliance is done. ODOT's, we got it. And you know how it is with politics and governments, whether it's federal or state.
I do.
When you're coming from business like I am, it's just like, okay, it must be as waste as much money as possible because it doesn't make any sense what you're doing. You'd never make it in business. You go broke.
Right.
But you have to be open-minded and like work through everything. And so I'm pretty excited that we're getting that turnaround. And I had no idea. I was one of those ignorant ones. You see those buses and it's like, oh, they're kind of in the way or whatever. And then, then you realize how many rides we could be here, how many people does that help, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, I wouldn't want to be a politician to be against what we have going, and we got everything turned around and it goes back the way it was.
Sure.
So,
I
it's
gotta, I gotta say, Greg and I do go a long ways back, and honestly, I do trust Greg. Greg and I have been friends for a long time. It brings back a memory about what 6 years ago when you and I wrestled that big old 300-pound gorilla. You were on
Goliath.
duty.
Yeah, to lift everybody off the ground at the
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Greg was on duty in uniform, and I was just at the bar at Seven Feathers, and we got into this. Well, this guy was cleaning the bar out. He was beating the hell out of a lot of people, and I did not want to get involved in that fight, but unfortunately, I didn't have much choice. And Greg came in and jumped on the guy. I jumped on the guy, and he beat the hell out of both of us for a little while. But finally, thank God, we won the battle because I wasn't going to let go. It's like,
No, he literally Goliath. That guy was, yeah. Well, your brother helped too, I think, didn't he?
no, not that. All right,
Not that.
he was a big.
With another cop too. Yeah, well, there's like 8 of us on top of him. He lifted us clear off the ground, all of us.
Yeah, it was no fun.
But yeah, no, that's what I mean. But that's a best way I can relate it to is just those those relationships that you have that you've known that you don't have to, look behind your back and somebody's there. They're
Sure.
going to jump in and work together and get this going. And it's we got a new CEO who's turned everything around. He's got a lot of credit. He's got that Portland connection. A lot of people don't like that, but it's like you have to. You got to have that connection, or you can't get any state or federal fundings, and like everybody else's, you'd be gone. So it's like he's very conservative.
Well, a lot of people, and I didn't understand either how funding works. And a lot of people say, well, we get nice federal money coming in for like right now we have the FEMA relief money they're trying to get. That money just doesn't get written. A check doesn't get written to that particular organization. It has to go somewhere. In your case, it goes to ODOT, and ODOT deals the money out to you folks. So, but there's all compliance issues and everything else that go along with those strings. But real quick before we move on, Trent, did you want to ask any questions? I'll catch up just a second, Kath.
Yeah, I just, you know, I guess a question that would come to my mind would be, now that you're to this point, what's the strategy moving forward to focus on? Is there a strategy to make it profitable, to be able to grow the company forward?
Well, it's not so much profit because you're getting money. It's how to spend the money wisely. And so prime example is we had buses, they just bought it. You get some money for buses or you get some money for this, and they just go out and buy whatever just because they had to spend the money. And it's like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to be able to spend, if we get 250,000, how can we use that for mechanics or whatever else that we need? And the Jennifer, who was awesome, we worked that out. That was just one thing that we had, so we got to be able to use it with all. But the only way to know how to work that is if you knew the code system of the state. So none of us would be able to figure that out. We'd have no absolute idea. And she worked through the code. Yeah, you put $10 here, $20 here, and then you can use that 250 for here, or whatever you need. And it's like, that's what we're looking for. We're looking to spend the taxpayers' dollars as much as possible. And then what we're looking at is trying to not have to be able to have that money and be able to kind of be advertising and other things that we can do to bring in to help get maybe pay raises and stuff for employees to help them out. Just a lot of different things that we can do. And the buses get expensive. We've got these EV chargers, which is a nightmare, which I've been involved in that mechanical contracting world. None of it works except hydroelectric or nuclear. I have 30 years I've been dealing with that, and it just, none of it works.
And so I add too, that all that was, I think, purchased on the recommendation of ODOT. Our previous boards seem to rely heavily on ODOT making the decisions, basically. And they basically said, if you haven't been in transit, you can't possibly do transit because you don't understand transit. Well, I think there's certain basic business principles that you can understand and that you can make work, even if it is in a bureaucracy, even if you do have the rules that you have. Our board has come in, and first we said, we are here for our district, not for ODOT. We're going to make our own decisions. We are going to listen to you because obviously we need to be compliant in order to bring the only funds we have available to us at this point, which are state and federal. But it doesn't mean that you're going to make the decisions for us, which ODOT doesn't like. And the problem, like the person running against me right now, is related to somebody who is in charge of government affairs director for the Oregon Transit Association, which is a huge lobby group. And I don't want our board to be run by transportation lobbyists and ODOT moles. We have to be independent, and we have to be doing what's best for our district, not what's best for what's best for the transportation gurus up in Salem, and Cortland.
Yeah, that makes good sense. One of the things that I hate bureaucracy, right? I just really do. And unfortunately, I'm knee deep in it every day. That's just what we do. And majority of the stuff that we see in the House comes from, bureaucracy. But ODOT just misplaced $1 billion, and nobody got fired over it. So
And they're telling us how to spend our money. I mean, seriously, are you going to use a financial advisor who has lost all of his money?
I have no faith in ODOT.
Not at all.
And they're aware. I mean, the Republican Party caucus, particularly, we ride ODOT pretty hard right now. The bad part about the ODOT thing is obviously they're controlled by the governor. It is an agency, and they have DEI heavily involved in what they do. Now I know ODOT spends millions of dollars a year on DEI, hiring,
Right.
training, whatever. And that's part of the, how do you say it? I guess it would be part of a compliance issue for anybody they're going to give money to. But now, interestingly enough, Trump has kiboshed guys. So how is that affecting you guys?
Our
Well,
board
there you
is
go.
actually the first one in the state. We passed a resolution that we are going to completely honor all of Trump's ruins,
Orders.
basically executive orders, and we are going to be in compliant with that, even if our state isn't. And so we passed that resolution, and we are hoping that even if our state gets passed over, that we can actually appeal to the Trump administration for our district, saying we are 100% behind you, and we were actually the first to do that. So we are thinking about that.
I think we're the only ones, aren't we, Cathye?
I believe that we are.
I don't believe any other state it has complied with Trump's executive orders now, except us, Virgil.
And that takes courage too. You know what I mean? And so I think that I would appreciate if our constituents recognize that and applaud. Michaela Hammerson has done a terrific job as chairperson. And Ben Adel,
Yeah,
I know people have not liked him because they look at him as a lobbyist and, like you said, a Northern Oregon man, but he is an America First patriot through and through, and he wants to see this working as well. He wants to run it like a good business. And the first thing he did was he hired for our what is it? Transportation. What do we call it? The
CEO.
guy. What is
CEO.
No, for our operations manager.
Oh,
The man he hired he knows more about compliance than probably anybody in ODOT does. He actually worked with ODOT for a while. He has connections in the federal government. This guy is a dream. And that was like Ben's first hire. What does a good CEO do? They recognize that they have to have people working for them that know their job so that they can be the CEO going out and looking for money and that kind of stuff. And the organization will be run because its leadership is solid. That's where we are right now.
For and I think we should always award on merit rather than DEI rewards.
Absolutely.
But my only concern about getting out in front is just what you said. You guys are the only ones that have got out in front of this. And if in fact, I want to talk more about each of you individually, because you guys are the ones that are on the ballot. People need to know who you are. But I do have the question is, what if ODOT says you're not complying with our DEI or whatever because technically our governor has given the thumb to Trump, and unfortunately we're still beholden to whatever it is. She does control the purse strings. So what happens then? Can Umpqua Public Transit District still continue to run without ODOT money? And if so, how long?
I personally think ODOT has enough problems on their plate right now with their own finances that I don't think that they are actually going to get into that with us. Ben is very good at playing nice. He's a much better politician than I am. And, but I don't want to go into something. You're speaking more like a politician, Virgil, because you have to think that way. I don't want to do the right thing or not do the right thing because I'm afraid. God does not give us a spirit of fear. If we feel this is what we're supposed to do, I feel it's important that we carry through. We're not doing something radical or bad. We're doing the right thing. And
Well,
so
and to that note, Cathye, I've gone a step farther. I've requested from ODOT. I actually had Austin do it. What is today? Tuesday. So we did it yesterday morning. We're going to get a report from ODOT, and they have to give me that report. I want to know what the compliance issues were. I want to know if there are any, because I have people literally, I guess, unfortunately or fortunately, I'm in politics. So people are messaging me, calling me saying, hey, is UPTD in compliance? Are they not? Frankly, I know this is going to sound bad. I don't know that much about Umpqua Public Transit District. I'm learning every time I speak to somebody, yourselves included. I'm learning more and more. But what I do want to know is the truth from ODOT, right? So that I can say, and I'm gonna get a copy of that report. They don't have a choice. I'm not gonna publish that report out to the world. But I may come back and ask both of you to come back on the show and say, hey, what do you think about this? I'd be told.
I do think that we have the letter showing that we are in compliance on our website, I believe.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I didn't even know you had a website. Sorry.
We do have a it is still, we're trying to make it a better website, but I thought that letter was on there. But anyway, I will take that into.
Yeah, my extent of involvement so far with Umpqua Public Transit District is, I can't remember if it was Michaela or Doug Mendenhall that asked me to come to that first compliance meeting that you had with ODOT, and I was only in town for literally a short time, and I think I got in there just before lunch, and I spent 15-20 minutes. And listen, I'm not a fan of ODOT, and they know it, and I could feel the uncomfortableness in the room because they can't fire me, right? And when I ask for public information, they don't have a choice. They either have to give it to me or I'll take it up the ladder, and they don't want to do that. But let's do this. We need to give Justin a chance, I think, to go to a break.
Yes, indeed. And thank you, Virgil. We're going to listen to a little bit of information about our sponsor, Twin Peaks Off-Road.
Is your 4x4 ready for the trail? Twin Peaks Off-Road is your first stop for maintenance, repairs, and custom upgrades. From differential services to winch installs, we do it all. Fast, reliable, and built for adventure. Don't wait for breakdowns in the backcountry. Call Twin Peaks Off-Road today at 541-900-0015 or visit twinpeaksoffroad.net. Keep your 4x4 off the roads and in the adventure.
Welcome back to On the Verge podcast, the Truth in Podcast. Again, we have our guests here tonight that are running for Umpqua Public Transit District. And I'm going to double down on some questions with them, and just kind of, I'd like everybody to get to know them a little bit better personally, what it is, and why they're running for a job that doesn't pay. It's a volunteer job. And I'm going to start with Cathye. Cathye, tell us just a little bit about Cathye. Leave us with one word that, if you wanted everybody to remember about Cathye, that would be your one word, and leave that at the end, but tell us how you get there. Nothing like
Want me to
to
give you the one word first or leave it at people? Did not understand how you were.
Yeah, so totally up to you, but just tell us your history. Tell us, where you came from, what what you do in life. I mean, do you have kids? I mean, just give us a background of who's Cathye Dewhirst. Dewhirst?
Dewhirst Curreri. It's technically two words, but they're hyphenated together, so God fearing would be my description. I come from I was blessed to be born into a family of tremendous faith, and my grandfather was a circuit pastor. We just have we are able to see God, and that's a real gift, I feel, and that is really what defines me. I was born in Hollywood, California, and I grew up in Glendale, California. I lived in La Cañada, California, so all Southern California areas until um, 2020. The very 20, my parents were in a position where they really needed help. Southern California is expensive. I was a dental hygienist, but I just decided I'm going to move up here where it's a little more reasonable with prices. And so and I kind of lucked out because it ended up that COVID hit, which would change the whole world of dentistry. I was really glad I avoided that. But the whole time I was in Southern California, I was very involved volunteering with the Republican Party. I did coached youth sports. I went into the classroom every week and did music with the kids. I did a lot of work with my church, and a lot of community service and that kind of thing. I had a few awards on the way for my involvement. I've always had a heart and felt a responsibility that I think that all of us, to make society run smoothly, it is important to get out and volunteer. I was raised that way. I have one son, Robert, who lives in Texas now with his lovely wife, who's actually an immigrant here from Venezuela. She knows firsthand what communism does to your country and your family. And I have three lovely granddaughters. One, Sophia's almost 14. Becky just turned 9. And little Charlotte is a year and a half. And she's just like, I call her my precious, and I do it in the Gollum voice from, my precious. So anyway, but I I struggled when I came up here about with what's going on in the world. As a Christian, is it better for me to be focusing on faith and reaching people spiritually rather than worrying about politics anymore, But I came to the realization, especially after studying Constitution, our founding father gifted they were gifted by God for a reason to create our country, and God ordained them and blessed them. And I feel as a Christian, it is my responsibility to try and continue that country that our founding fathers were inspired to form. So I'm doing this I feel like this is what God has called me to do. And uh, where he calls me, that's where I go. When I was first asked to run for the public transit board, I said, no way in HE double hockey sticks am I going to run. There's just no way at all. And as it happened, when God is talking to you and convicts you, he doesn't let you just say no way. He kind of figures out how to make you realize there is something you're supposed to do. I went in knowing, because people don't know me. I'm not from the area. People don't know me. They don't know what I'm capable of. I went into the interview going, there's no way I'm going to get appointed, you know? And in fact, the first thing they asked me, what makes you a better candidate than the all other candidates? And I said, frankly, I'm probably the least qualified of all the candidates you're interviewing right now. But I do have life experience and I am smart and I will work hard. And through the interview, they did decide to go ahead and ask me to be on the board. It's been a horrible experience on one hand because just jumped into a fire, like Greg said. It's a nightmare. However, we have done such great things, and it's such a great group of people that I'm now actually asking people to vote for me, which I would have said a year ago.
That's admirable. Congratulations. Yeah. So, Cathye, one last word. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Can I do a few more?
Yes, go
The
ahead.
joy of the
I want
Lord.
to give Greg time too.
The joy of the Lord is my strength.
Awesome.
That's
That's awesome. Now I'm going to switch over to Greg. And Greg, I've been envious of you for, gosh, staying 40 years because I know what you did after high school. You went to Hawaii and worked on your Karen. And so I know a little bit about what you did because I've kind of kept up on that over the years. But tell us what makes Gregg Kennerly tick, and tell us in a few words at the end why people should vote for you, who you are.
Well, I was born and raised on a sheep and cattle ranch in Dillard, Oregon. So that right there, later in life, you realize just how valuable those skills were and skill sets when you grew up. I had the greatest grandparents in the world, Ab Rice and Betty Rice.
Yes, you did. Amen to that. I remember them well.
Yeah,
He scared you on a snowmobile.
yep, and my parents, Gary and my mom's the only one left alive, so I had the absolute perfect childhood and growing up. And I graduated from university, went down to Phoenix, Arizona, and graduated in University of Technical Institute for air conditioning, refrigeration, solar, basically anything, all basically mechanical. And then I moved to Maui because the spotted owl hit. And I don't know if a lot of people don't remember how bad it really was when that hit. Drive and Save that I worked for, it was shut down. I mean, everybody lost their jobs, and Maui was booming. I mean, Hawaii was booming. It was like you're 6 hours away, but it was day and night difference. And I went into line of refrigeration, and like in 10 minutes, the guy goes, "Yeah, there's your truck. There's some tools down the road. You start." And I'm like, I didn't have a place to stay. And so, I, l- I left and, well, I was there 25 years, and then came back when I had my son because I wanted to raise him on the ranch. So that's what I wanted to do. And so I brought him back and I ended up getting into law enforcement. So for 25 years, I was a mechanical contractor. And then the last 15 in current, I was in law enforcement. And, I asked my son because he's in the Marine Corps now. And I said, did I do the right thing? Did we do the right thing by moving back to the ranch? Because we left everywhere. I had the $1 million view. We had we had a great lifestyle there, but it was nowhere to raise a kid. It was not. And he goes, "Oh, absolutely, Dad. There's no doubt." And um, the it's a tough situation when you have kids because you got to sacrifice. You got, how are they going to turn out? I have the perfect daughter who's only 12 and be 13 pretty soon. So, it's worth it. When your son gets in the Marine Corps, he's thriving in the Marine Corps. He just re-enlisted. He's in communications and cybersecurity, way smarter than I am, thank God, which is the future. I don't understand that future. But yeah, I mean those core values and we got Oregon got so bad that my family and I really thought about selling everything, going to Tennessee, going to Kentucky, Idaho, somewhere different. We just have had it. And we've been here since 1853 and we're like, you know what? We don't want to leave. We like it here. We like the people that we're associated we grew up with. So we're gonna fight. And my brother, you know how he's involved in everything,
Oh,
and it's time for me to get involved in stuff. And I'm not one that turns the blind eye. If there's something that's not right, I'm gonna say something, and no matter what. And that's how I am. So that's just in my genes. So, but yeah, that's basically that's sums it up right there.
I have to tell you, Greg, again, I've known your family, both your parents and your brothers and everybody literally most of my life. And I got into politics for the same reasons of basically what you just said. It's like, I love this place. I love Oregon, and I hate what it's turning into. And I'm really hating what I see happening slowly in rural Oregon. I mean, we are literally getting rid of our ranches and our farms, and where the state is making it so hard to be a farmer. And I don't want to get into politics too bad, but I admire what your family has done. I
Well,
probably hauled hay for your grandpa. I think I did.
I hauled a lot of hay for his grandpa.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for
no,
the
you're the American dream. I mean, you had nothing. When you grew up, I mean, you had nothing, and barely did as you got now. Like I told you when you got elected, don't forget where you came from.
never
but
will.
it's so hard because it's stacked against us. But I'll tell you, I saw a real turnaround when Trump got elected.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is kind of turned around. Um,
I saw a turnaround in the stock market yesterday that I was smiling about all night.
Yeah, well, all of us knew that was gonna happen. I mean, just use it. Yeah, but it's like, how do we get it? I think with you guys and you, Trenton, how do we get it back to where it was when we were growing up?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Oregon and Douglas County how we want it. I mean, look before the spotted owl. Just think how like South County, how great it was booming. I mean, the mills, the mine was going, everything. I mean,
Well,
it's incredible.
And I have been asked by there's a certain faction of Democrats that live in Tiller that are just really pissed off because the Tiller Ranger district's being abandoned and nobody's spending any money in Tiller. The same people are the same ones that don't want a single log taken off of that land. And I reminded them, it's like, well, how do you think Tiller was built? It didn't just
Yes.
happen. I, how do you think the road to South Umpqua Falls was paved? It didn't just happen. It was done by timber dollars. And I worked for the mill. I worked for RFP. I was in the management at RFP and up until 1989 after I got out of high school and I was going to college working for it. You're right. The spotted owl hit, things went to hell, and they've never recovered. And that's another show, though. This show is about you two, and I don't want to detract too far from that, but I do want you both to come back on the show in the future, because I love talking politics with people that are like minded. Trent, again, I've kind of sidestepped you on some questions, and is there anything you want to say in closing? Because I know we're going to have to get out of here.
I just want to reiterate what Greg said, that especially the three of us, it's in our DNA, Virgil. That's why you and I had pizza and beer and said, okay, what are we going to do? What can we do different? Because things were changing and we're like, yeah, man, this isn't where we came from. I mean, you know, I learned a lot of life lessons on that sheep ranch. Basically how to pick hay up and how to stomp wool. But through that, oh, dude, you haven't lived till you've been in a wool back. Uh, they always took the short guy and put him down there.
Yeah.
But, you know, through that work ethic, we found a way, just because you remember how much opposition we ran into when you kind of came out and said, hey, I'm going to run for state representative.
Oh,
He got-
up the wall. The
he
the
got-
entire Republican Party left me.
He
And
got
Gabriel
poo-poo.
plug guts.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
trust me, I know that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And well,
I don't think you do, Greg. I don't think you know how, but it was ugly. And to the point where it was before Cathye came along. I literally I called them to task after I got through listening to one of them. I don't want to mention names, literally yell at the top of his lungs at me in a meeting with about 30 people telling me that God's going to judge me and all this other crap. Good. All the task. And then literally, like, I don't know, a couple months later in an executive, because I was on the board. A couple months later, they're talking to me like, "Oh yeah, you're my buddy." And I said, "I'm gonna just tell everybody in this room, I am not your buddy. You guys all denounced me just a couple of months ago. So I'm a Republican and I'm running on Republican values, and that's what I'm gonna do. And if you don't vote for me, that's your problem. I don't want to sound too egotistical, but I know what it feels like to get shit on by a party. Trust me."
And
Yeah.
I actually was around then, Virgil. So
were you?
yeah, I was sitting in the room. And I'd also though like to a different perspective. My son played water polo in college. He still plays masters groups and that kind of thing when he has time. But I found and I've coached youth teams for baseball, but sometimes an outsider's perspective is not a bad thing. So just because I didn't grow up in the area and I'm not known by everybody and I don't have the ties, the wonderful ties that you guys all have, it doesn't mean that I don't have, and I'm not being defensive. I just want to throw in that it doesn't mean I don't have a value because I can see things a little differently. Sometimes you can get so entrenched, you lose your perspective. So I think it is a good organization or a good group encourages an outsider's perspective as well.
Well, we just came from a position that we were going to fight for what we have, and it was going to get pretty rough if you wanted to take it away from us.
Yeah.
And I think so. One of the things, again, I don't want to talk about myself too much. One of the things, if you looked at my CPAC rating in 23, there were two people in the entire state that had a perfect 100% conservative rating, myself and Shelley Bossart Davis.
Right.
24, they don't rate, I don't think, because it was a short session, and then we'll get rated again in 25. I don't care about go along to get along or any other crap. My goal is to make sure that my district is heard, and it is. And in fact, recently, if you guys have heard of the Oregon Freedom Coalition, myself, Alex Scarlatos, Darren Harbick, Ed Deal. I'm sure everybody's heard Ed Deal's name. Who am I missing here? Ed, there's 7 of us, I think. Oh, Dwayne Yunker. We've all formed a coalition of conservative voters, and this unfortunately maybe doesn't go. We might be a little right of where some people are, but the voice of Southern Oregon, rural Oregon, because we're all rural representatives, will stay heard. Now, it doesn't mean we're always going to win. We're going to get into battles, and we have been battling out for the last 2.5 months, 3 months. But you know what? By God, we're not gonna compromise our values, and to hell with anybody who thinks that they can talk us into voting poorly. And you'll see that come out when they rate us again. But I mean, I know where I came from.
Right.
And that's where we're gonna stay.
Well, and Virgil, and that's the thing about the board that we have now. They're all just like us. They got the same values, the same stuff to work through stuff to get a need that is, like I said, you got 126,000, people that need this service, and we're providing it and getting a turnaround. And the CO's trying to get new ways to get, like what Trent we were talking about. You're asking about different rides, different setups and stuff. That's what we're gonna do. We lost the Cow Creek rides because they went and did their own thing because the previous ones didn't take care of them and was charging them. And so I talked to them what happened there, and which I kind of probably figured is like they're going to go do their own thing because they have to have they got to service their elders and stuff, and their people have to be taken care of. And so they went and did their own stuff, which is sad because it's like you lost the Cow Creek, the people there on those services too. They still bypass it, and help out for colleges and everything. But that's a prime example of somebody, the second largest employer in Douglas County. And here we basically told them, forget it. When I found that out the other day, I was furious. And that's why I'm running. That's why we want to get these on the board again and get the relationships back with the businesses and the people, and go forward.
Interesting. I wasn't aware of that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Greg. One of the things, Cow Creek has been a big supporter of mine, have been since I started running. More so after 23 when I went to their defense on the federal level for the gaming issue that Grants Pass was trying to open a casino with the other tribe. And Indian tribes have usually or almost always lean very to the left, right? They're Democrats. They don't support Republicans. They do support me. I support them, and I support them for the same reasons you just said. That they are I may not agree with every single thing that they do, but they're a huge employer, right? And the people that live in my district work there, and they are part of the reason why people have jobs and schools and lives and everything else. And I don't ever want to see that compromise. I mean, those folks give more money back to the public
Oh,
than
people have no idea.
no, they don't. When I went in front of the tribal council, because I didn't know either. I mean, I literally went there and I said, "Hey, fill me in. What's going on?" And I spent a couple hours with them, and they don't pay taxes like we all do, but they put more back into the community than what taxes would ever be. And
Yes.
especially when it comes to firefighting and law enforcement and all those things. I mean, they do it, and God help us if we lost them.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far in the weeds, guys. We're going to have to cut off. We're up against the last part. So, is there any closing thoughts you have, Cathye?
Yes,
That's the group right there.
I was just gonna say, I would really encourage you to support Todd Vaughn, John Estelle, Gregg, myself, and we also, even though she hasn't been part of our group, we think that Ashley would be a good person to take Lisa Lanza's spot. Lisa's been an incredible board member, and I hate to see her go. So it's a spot that's important to fill. But I do hope that people will allow us to continue. I call us a group of misfits. We come from all different kinds of backgrounds,
Rebels.
but we still work so well together because we really agree on the basic philosophical issues, and we are America First patriots. We love our country. We don't want to see our country go down the tube. So
On
it starts here.
that you and I definitely agree. Greg?
Yeah. Like I say is, we got 126,000 people that, underprivileged people that needs this service, and it was going to go away in August. And so we got it turned around. We're in compliance. We got the budget passed. I mean, we want to keep this going. And I hope the citizens from Douglas County realize that, because it's a need that we need to take care of people.
Fantastic. Trent, you got any closing thoughts before we cut to some of our other stuff we need to talk about?
No, I really enjoyed the information, and it's always good to get. It's a pleasure to meet you, Cathye, and always good to see Gregg. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew that in
Family eye,
Yeah,
especially your crazy brother.
yeah.
So this podcast is we're putting some time and effort into this podcast in general. So this podcast, and Justin can help me with this, but I know we're up on YouTube, we'll be up on Spotify, we're up on Apple Music, and we're up on Amazon Music, I believe, and I think and 10 other sites. So everything we talked about tonight, I'm not sure when Justin's going to have the all of the editing done, but hopefully I think he's going to try to speed this one up and just get it out. But you guys will get some coverage on this. Well, I'm going to let our guests go, and Trent and Justin, we have a few things we need to cover. So you guys take care.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much for
the
Bye,
time,
Greg.
Virgil. You guys, you bet.
All right, thanks everybody. That wraps up today's episode of our podcast, and I do appreciate all of the folks that have come on and watched us. I also would like to say, please, by all means, like our podcast, subscribe to it on the different channels. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon Music, Apple Music, and about 10 other sites as well. The more you like it, the more we can come back and give you more information, and that's our intention. We're going to keep on doing that. I also want to thank our sponsors, and our biggest sponsor, of course, is Little Mill Media. They're the ones that put on this podcast for us. They handle all the editing and all the background work, and they also take care of all the marketing and advertising for my company, which is Twin Peaks Off-Road, and they're also part of the sponsorship for this program as well. I really appreciate the effort, and we have other folks coming on for sponsorships just down the road, and there's spots available if you're interested. But more than anything, I hope I can leave you tonight with this, and that is, please vote. These special district elections are typically not well attended as far as the voting turnout, and I really would like to see people vote, because these special small districts matter. They do eventually control the direction of of our communities. And we can go one way or the other, and I really believe that it's important that we get out there and vote. And heck, in Oregon, you can do it. All you have to do is fill out your ballot and drop it in the mail. So there's no excuse. There's no reason not to vote. Please vote. And with that, everybody have a good evening. Thank you.
All right.